Brad Keselowski scores his first win in 110 races, and Chris Buescher has another win stolen from him.
Everybody likes a winner, right?
A three-wide finish.
That was old school ass whipping.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Pit Stop Perspectives. Today, we're going to be breaking down this week's Goodyear 400 from Darlington Raceway. So far, the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season is shaping up to be one of the most exciting seasons we've seen in a long time. This week's race was no different, with a fan favorite of Brad Keselowski scoring his first win in 110 races. On top of that, it's his first win as a Cup Series owner, and it's Ford's first win this year. However, there's a lot we have to cover before we can get to the finish. One thing I think that we should be talking about is the idea of Throwback Weekend in the first place. It became a big conversation this week whether Throwback Weekend is going to be a thing that continues to happen. This was brought up on Denny Hamlin's podcast, Actions Detrimental, where he said that he thinks this is going to start to fizzle out. And frankly, I think we may have seen the beginning of that this weekend because there were a number of teams who decided not to field throwback cars this week. I think that the sport needs to do all they can to continue to have this Throwback Weekend. We've seen it become big in other sports, whether it being the players wearing throwback jerseys or wearing throwback logos. It creates buzz not only for the team, but for the sport. I think a team like Hendrick Motorsports, who went all out this week, got a ton of publicity and a ton of fans for having ran such cool paint schemes. Not only does it get the attention of new fans, but it also gets the attention of older fans who maybe haven't paid attention to the sport in a long time. However, seeing something like the number 5 Terry Labonte paint scheme on Kyle Larson's car this week will pique their interest. I appreciated how in the pre-race as well as throughout the race, the booth, especially Kevin Harvick, was calling out the teams who did not run a throwback paint scheme. Throwback Weekend is something that Darlington is known for, and I think it's something that the team should do all they can to keep going. In my opinion, the teams that take advantage of this will find success, and the ones that don't are going to be missing a big opportunity. But moving on to the start of the race. Early in the race, it looked like the 54, the 45, as well as the 5 were going to be some of the fastest cars to watch today. And for the most part, that was true. The 45 of Tyler Reddick led the majority of Stage 1. However, on lap 40, a few cars, including the 54 and the 5, decided to short pit just a few laps before the rest of the leaders. Because of this, the 54 and the 5 were able to jump the 45 and grab the lead. The 54 began to pull away, and on lap 70, he had a 3-second lead on second place, which was Larson. However, Kyle Larson proved to have the better long-run car and was able to run him down and win the stage. Our Stage 1 finishers were first, Larson, second, Gibbs, third, Keselowski, fourth, Reddick, fifth, Truex, sixth, Gilliland, seventh, Buescher, eighth, Blaney, ninth, Byron, and 10th, Wallace. During the stage break, Larson unfortunately had a slow pit stop, which became a trend for his team today. Because of this, Larson ended up losing 3 spots on pit road, with the 45 to 6 and the 54 beating him off, with the 45 of Tyler Reddick coming off in first. On lap 121, the 42 spun with a blown tire, which brought the cars back into the pits. On the restart on lap 129, the 24, the 12, and the 19 went 3 wide going into turn 1. The 24 checked up into the 19, which pushed the 12 into the wall. The 19 and the 12 both ended up having to pit, and this ended up ending the 12's day. The 12 was obviously upset with the 24. Before going to the garage, the 12 came back onto the track and started to come up into the 24 before deciding not to make contact with him. Later on lap 164, the caution came out again for a solo spin for the 71. Reddick won the race off of pit road, and Larson again lost 2 spots on pit road because of a 10.6 second stop. Reddick went on to win the stage, with our Stage 1 finishers being first, Reddick, second, Keselowski, third, Gibbs, fourth, Logano, fifth, Larson, sixth, Byron, seventh, Buescher, eighth, Hamlin, ninth, Wallace, and 10th, Chastain. On the restart for Stage 3, Larson split the leaders 3 wide and took second place briefly. The 6 was able to recover and regain second position, with the 5 dropping back to third. On lap 225, the 6 of Brad Keselowski was able to pass the 45 of Tyler Reddick for the lead. At this point in the race, many of the teams were planning on running different strategies. Some were planning on stopping 3 times in this stage, and some were planning on just stopping twice. However, about the time that first round of pit stops was happening, we started to see a few drivers having tire issues. Two of those drivers were the 5 of Kyle Larson and the 22 of Joey Logano. The 5 of Kyle Larson got loose and hit the wall coming out of 4. This caused the 5 team to change their pit strategy and make a last-second pit stop to change tires and assess any damage that they may have had. After that incident, it seems like all of the teams who were planning on only making 2 stops decided to change their pit strategies and pit immediately. All things considered, after the pit stop, the 5 team was able to recover fairly well. However, on lap 253, the 5 blew a tire and spun into the wall, which effectively ended their day. The field restart on lap 260, and this is where things really got interesting. The 45 and the 6 restart side by side and stayed side by side for multiple laps. The 17 of Chris Buescher was able to catch up to the 2 leaders and was able to push the 6, trying to clear him from the 45. The 45 and the 6 began to slam doors, trying to give themselves an advantage. At this time, the 17 had all of the momentum and was able to pass both cars on the inside. The 45 was able to finally clear the 6 for second place. With 13 laps to go, the 45 of Tyler Reddick was able to catch up to the 17 of Chris Buescher and was breathing down his neck. The 45 attempted a bold move in trying to slide job the 17 into the turn. However, the 45 wasn't able to make it stick and he got loose into the 17, putting the 17 into the wall. This caused tires on both cars to go flat, forcing both cars to come into the pits and the 6 of Brad Keselowski to take the lead. With 7 laps to go, Brad Keselowski had only a 1.5 second lead on the 54 of Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs was doing all he could to catch up to the 6. However, Brad Keselowski came away with the win, scoring his first win in 110 races. Not only that, it's also his first win as an owner and Ford's first win this year. Seeing Brad get this win was really cool. However, you gotta feel bad again for the 17 of Chris Buescher. He had another win stolen from him. It looked like the 17 was going to bounce back this week after losing by only 1/1000th of a second last week. Had he been able to do that, it would have been a huge story and it would have been an awesome sight to see. Instead, we got a very different win, which also had its own awesome stories, and it was also an awesome sight to see. Buescher was obviously frustrated and furious with Tyler Reddick. After the race, Buescher found Reddick on pit road and shoved him and then immediately got in his face and was voicing his displeasure with him. I obviously understand the frustration that Buescher was dealing with. I can't imagine how it feels to have this happen 2 weeks in a row. One thing that I do think is interesting about this, though, is if you look back at the replay, Buescher had actually gotten into the wall before the 45 got into him. The 45 obviously was what ended his day, and had the 45 not attempted such an aggressive move, he probably wouldn't have gotten into the wall in the first place. However, I do think there is some blame to be shared here, although most of it is going to be toward the 45. With all that being said, there's some drivers I really want to shout out after today's race. The first one is the 54 of Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs came away with a second place finish at Darlington. He drove a really impressive race and was up front all day. I don't think it's going to be long before he grabs his first win. Another driver that impressed me today was the 4 of Josh Berry. Josh Berry was steadily moving up through the field all day and came away with a third place finish. Speaking of SHR, Chase Briscoe also had a 5th place finish today. And the last driver being the 51 of Justin Haley. When was the last time you saw a Rick Ware car finish in the top 10 at Darlington? Everybody, including myself, was questioning Haley's judgment when he decided to go to Rick Ware Racing. However, ever since he got there, he's been showing some really good speed. I'm really impressed with what he's been able to do. One of the biggest things, however, that struck me at the end of this race, and I had the same thought last week, was our lack of post-race content. NASCAR has put on an awesome show the past 2 weeks. However, as soon as the race is over, we're cutting to championship bowling. On Saturday, during the truck race, they cut away to the dog show. Now, no offense if you enjoy the dog show or if you enjoy championship bowling. However, NASCAR is a premier sport. We have to have post-race coverage or even get the full race in. After having these exciting finishes like we've had the past couple of weeks, having to cut away so quickly just kills the excitement for what just happened. I don't care if we have to go to a different channel. I don't care if it's on a streaming service. I don't care if it's on YouTube. I want post-race coverage. I want driver interviews. I want to see the driver in victory lane. I don't want to be standing in my living room coming off an emotional high and the next thing I know I'm watching bowling. I want to watch the race. I want to watch racing. I don't know what we need to do to force these broadcasting companies to respect NASCAR, but it has to be done. I shouldn't have to go on YouTube and find somebody who's talking about the race live to be able to enjoy my post-race content. Now, there's some great people who do that, and I have absolute respect for them. However, I want to see that from NASCAR at the track. Anyway, I'm very passionate about that conversation, if you can't tell. I love NASCAR, and I just want to see the sport that I love get the respect that it deserves. What do you think? Is this a problem, or am I just overreacting? Let me know down in the comments. Overall, I thought today's race was a good race that had an awesome finish. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's race. While you're there, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make like Christopher and hit that bell so you can get notified on all of our latest NASCAR content. By the way, I decided to start an X account, so if you're enjoying my content here, be sure to head on over there and follow me at Perspectives24. As always, I appreciate you for watching.